What's up, duelists? Again, Nationals coming up. Road to Nats. Episode, I don't know which episode this is. I've been testing fairies like crazy. I do think that Archlord Ligma is one of the best cards in the format. If not straight up the best card in the format, in terms of like just raw power level from monster. There are a lot of different ways to play this card. We've seen it played in Lightsworn. We've seen it played in the DD Warrior Lady type fairies decks. And this is a brand new approach to the card. I've been thinking lately, a lot of people have wised up. I don't even know if that's a word. Is wised a word? A lot of people have wizened up. A lot of people have become more wiser, I think is the right, I don't know how you say it. But the idea is, if you set a Shining Angel, nobody's attacking my Shining Angels anymore. What the heck happened, bro? I thought everyone was supposed to just attack my monsters blindly without thinking. But it turns out people have gotten better. So, Shining Angel, he's not really cutting it for me, especially in some matchups where your opponent just like kills your set monster or banishes it before they ever attack you, or they summon something like Revive King. It can be difficult to resolve a Shining Angel nowadays. So what's the quickest, most proactive way to get Archlord Ligma set up, get 4 fairies in your graveyard without relying on like crazy blind mill sack? It is drawing the Agent of Creation Venus and summoning triple Mystical Shine Ball. So the way this works is you activate this 3 times, you get 3 of these little guys out, you get 4 bodies in play, and all 4 of them are fairies. Once all of them touch the grave, your Christia is immediately live. On top of that, you can utilize just like a whole bunch of really good Chaos cards in this deck. I modeled it really similarly to the Chaos Agents decks in later formats where they played like very few trap cards, a shit ton of just really high quality monsters, and then as many of the good or decent hand traps that you can play basically in the entire deck. Now, of course, there are a couple changes you can make to this. You could fit Tragodia in here. I was thinking about that maybe over a Doom Caliber Knight. You could fit Allure of Darkness in the main. You could cut this Treeborn Frog. You could do a bunch of different stuff to like sort of alter this deck. This was just my first rendition of it. And the sideboard I'm pretty happy with, outside of like having to side the Allure. That's obviously really awkward. We don't have enough main deck darks. I think we only have 8. That's not enough to play Allure in the main. I think you need at least 9 or 10, preferably 10, to main deck Allure. So I think it's just a little bit awkward here. You could cut the Treeborn Frog for the Allure, but then, yeah, it's just a little bit awkward. You could cut the Herald of Purple Lights, but then you have a little bit of difficulty playing the trap cards, and you are also a little bit Fairy Light for Christia. Plus, drawing the Shine Balls, at least Herald of Purple Light can turn your Shine Ball into like a negate. Even though it's a negate at -1, it's like a solid negate. As long as you're negating something that's like ruining your position, like Torrential Tribute, or, you know, like let's say you manage to stick a Light and Darkness Dragon, right? You attack, they go like, I don't know, some card, and then they chain D-Prison, then you can chain Herald of Orange, negate that D-Prison, and then just really lock up the game with that Light and Darkness Dragon. So, yeah, no, this deck is really sick. I actually think it's really solid. Plus, like, if you go first and you open Venus, your position is insane. You just set up 4 bodies, and then your opponent has to out all 4, or else next turn either Caius or Light and Darkness or Christia is coming. You can tribute summon the Christia, you can tribute summon the Caius, or you can tribute summon Light and Darkness. Just keeps your opponent guessing. For like opening plays and like bridging that gap, extra like really quality normal summons, you have Doom Caliber and Thunder King. Another thing I really like about this deck too is you're not just completely cold to Light Mirror, and you're not just completely cold to Deck Devastation Virus. In terms of deck dev, you still have a lot of targets, right? You have 3 Shine Ball, you still have the 2 Honest, you have triple Herald of Orange. That's a good amount of targets, right? What is that, 8 targets? But it's nowhere near like the 15 or 16 targets we were playing in the other build. I'm not counting Herald of Purple Light, because if you do draw it in your hand, obviously you're going to use it to negate that deck dev, so it's not technically a target. And I'm also not counting the Treeborn Frog, because you would love for Treeborn Frog to get hit with Deck Devastation Virus. So yeah, the spell card's pretty straightforward. You have Soul Exchange, so you can spit out Caius or Light and Darkness or Christia. And then you have Enemy Controller to take use of, or make use of, the Shine Balls that you have left over, or your Treeborn Frog, or just your Soul Exchanges, because you can Soul Exchange, target 1 monster, Enemy Controller, sack their monster that you targeted with Soul Exchange for cost, take their other monster. There's a lot of like cute little combinations with Enemy Controller you can do in this deck. For the sideboard, you gotta have a lot of stuff for frogs, because your main deck is not really cut out to beat frogs. You have a bunch of Doom Calibers and Light and Darknesses and Heralds and like just shitty cards versus frogs. So you can cut down on all of those cards and bring in the Vanity's Fiend, the Dark Dust Spirit, as well as the Cyber Dragons and the Allure, as well as the Battle Fader. So you can just bring in like 7 different cards. And that's actually the matchup I'm going to show you guys today. I'm going to show you this deck versus frogs, because that's kind of where I wanted to showcase the idea of this deck. It's where a matchup where you don't really get to resolve your Shining Angel crash that often. And that's the matchup where Shining Angel, or Agent Creation of Venus, Agent of Creation of Venus, I'm a mess. I'm a mess, folks. I'm a mess. You have to like and subscribe. It's the only way I'll get better. It's the only way I can speak normally again. Okay, this guy's more proactive in the frog matchup. Cutting the words down. Let's get into the game. It's me versus Morphing Jar 136. So here I go second. This is also a list that I'm like considering playing a permutation of, like, at the tournament. Like, I have a billion lists on my radar, and this is just like one of them that I wanted to make sure I got a chance to test because I think it's legit. Again, I think the Asura Priest one from yesterday is legit. I think this one is legit. There's a bunch of different ways you can approach these decks. Like, Edison format is so crazy deep. The fact that people are playing like the same 2 lists over and over again is insane to me because there are a million different decks out there that are yet to be discovered that are good, like that are genuinely really strong. We haven't discovered, like, there's so much we haven't discovered so far with this format. It's so underdeveloped because people just like want to load Black Wings and high roll with deck dev. Yeah, so this opening hand, it's pretty bad, especially going second, especially versus frogs. So it's just pretty unlucky, but you know what? We'll see what we can do. He summons Stratos. Of course, had we gone first, having the Thunder King down would have been really good. He searches Plasma, which tells me he's either playing Quick Draw or he's playing that other deck. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. He sets a back row and then he passes, and we pick up Light and Darkness. So our hand's like kind of like bricky, but that's kind of the case with this deck. I think the list needs to be tuned a little bit better than it is right now. But there's something here. There's something here. And, you know, if you do open that Agent of Creation, like, you're killing it. Of course, we're just going to go Typhoon Thunder King. He chains his Fires of Doomsday, which is an interesting card. I don't think it's a good card, but it's an interesting card, to say the least. We summon Thunder King. Thunder King can at least trade with the Plasma, so it's going to buy us at least an extra turn here. These cards are kind of awkward. He's forced to just summon Swap Frog to send Treeborn because I believe he has Ryza. Yeah, he's trying to set up for his Ryza. He also has 1-for-1, which is interesting, which I think he goes for this turn. No, he doesn't. So that's a bit of a mistake. He should go for the 1-for-1 now, sack these tokens off to the Substitoads, and then like go through all his frogs. That's a bit of a mistake, pretty much, because he maybe thinks I can negate this monster with Thunder King, but you can't actually, because Thunder King can only negate inherent summons, and 1-for-1's from a card effect, so he can't negate that. Thunder King gonna attack over a token. I'm gonna set one of my enemy controllers, and I'm gonna pass. Unfortunately, here we are going to get Ryza locked, and that's going to be it. We did dead draw our second enemy controller, and that's just going to happen some percentage of games. You know, that's just going to happen. I'm gonna fast forward through the first game here because it's not really. It's showcasing the downside of a deck like this, where you have a lot of bricks, you have a lot of garnets, but yeah, you don't need to you don't need the technical analysis here. Opponent makes a pretty big error actually, not bouncing his own Ryza here with the Swap Frog, but he has a follow-up Monarch for next turn anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But bouncing the Ryza guarantees the game, more or less. Anyway, he goes sack a bunch of dudes, passes a turn, attacks with the Ryza. He can always bounce it because he does have the Swap Frog, so maybe it's not as big a mistake as I made it out to be, but it is a mistake. I feel like you should just always bounce that dude. Don't leave him in play in case I have a way to blow up the field. I draw Herald of Purple, and I'm like, alright, let's just go next. Let's just go next, because I feel like my deck is legit. I just need to mulligan that game. And this game, yeah, this deck is legit. We have Gores, we have Herald, we have Honest. Honest is great pressure against frogs. We can just attack, bounce it, not get monarched. Oh, I'm showing his hand, sorry. I just pass the turn. He goes ahead and sets a back row, passes the turn. I draw Thunder King. I'm like, beautiful. There's my starter. So I summon Thunder King. I attack for 19. I have Thunder King with Honest and Herald and Battle Fader Gores. I just have hand traps out the ass. I have an enemy controller for whatever I might need. He Doomsdays. We just run over one of them because why not? And then, yeah, he sacks for Caius, and we get our nice little 2-for-2 with tempo. So we bought 2 turns with this Herald of Orange Light. And this is why Herald of Orange Light is so broken. I've said this a million times on video before, but look at this. My opponent set his Fires of Doomsday past the turn, right? And then on his turn, he spent another normal summon. So that's 2 full turns we bought with this Herald of Orange Light. And then on top of that, we got 2 of his cards for our worst card. We traded a Shine Ball for a Caius, which is like, that's just juicy, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we go Herald Negate. He sets a back row. We rip Vanities. And I'm like, this dude's on mono special summon deck. I'm slamming the fuck out of this Vanities Fiend. And so I slam it and I attack. And he's got the Treacherous back there. And he's probably like, fuck. He goes ahead and activates Soul Exchange. Sacks for Ryza. Spins his own Treacherous, which is very interesting. He probably just didn't have a guy to summon. I guess he had Fader. He could have summoned the Fader and then like Tretched both, but then he's in a really awkward spot where he has like Dead Miracle, Scapegoat that does nothing, and Ryza that's dead. So he figured he might spin his own Treacherous and like have a better chance that way. I just passed the turn because I have Gores, so I'm like, whatever. I summon my Gores, I'm like, heck yeah, that's really good. If I ever draw another fairy, I can get to my Christia, which is awesome too. He goes ahead. Oh, I actually, you know what? I forgot to show you guys. I'm going to show you how I sideboard it. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is how I sideboarded. I've been trying to remember to take a screenshot of like my sideboard pattern so you guys can get ideas of it when I do the replay analysis. So the way I sided was I brought out both the Light and Darkness, 2 of the 3 Doomcal. I saved 1 to go for Game Shot and to keep my Allure good. Yeah, I sided out the Space Typhoon and the Heavy Storm and both Purple Lights. So I sided out all the stuff that's like pretty bad versus Frogs. We brought in the Dark Dust, the 2 Vanities. We brought in the Allure, so that's 4 cards in. And then we brought in the 2 Cyber Dragons. This can attack over the 2,000 monsters that Thunder King can't get over. We brought in double Battle Fader. That's to help support our Caius and our Vanities Fiends. And I think that's it. I think that pretty much rounds it out. So it's a pretty clean in and out versus Frogs with a deck like this. You just side out the cards that don't necessarily do too great versus it. And then you side in the cards that kind of beat the fuck out of it. And that's kind of what happened. We got our Battle Fader. He's kind of living. You know, he can maybe come together with his enemy controller for a game shot. Something like that. Who knows? They set a back row. Obviously, it's the Treacherous because they need to clear the Gores. We pick up Herald of Orange Light, which is like perfect. Basically, all he needs to do is activate another effect monster. We'll Herald it, and then we'll be able to drop Christia, and that should win the game. So, yeah. We go ahead and attack over Ryza, but he goes for the Treacherous to protect his Ryza. So I'm like, oh, this is scary because if he attacks with Ryza and doesn't activate an effect monster, I'm not going to have anything to Herald. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Battle Fader his attack with the Ryza. Hope he has another Monarch. Hopefully he sacks it, targets the Battle Fader. I can pitch Herald to negate that Monarch and then special Christia and take over the game. So that's my game plan here. Treacherous being gone is really good for me too because that's like one of the few outs to Christia. Thankfully he does normal summon Elemental Hero Stratos, which is beautiful. I check his grave, I make sure he doesn't have any waters down there for a scary Miracle Fusion kill, and then I decide to Herald this because like, yeah, I think it's right. Just get my Christia online this turn and not really worry about it. He attacks for 24, sets 1 back row, I think. Yeah, he sets, I think, the Scapegoat. Yeah. We special summon Battle Fader. Now, here he could have activated Scapegoat in my draw phase. He did check my graveyard. He could have checked and seen that I have 4 fairies. He could have been like, oh, he has 4 fairies. I should probably activate the Scapegoat now. But he didn't. So I special summon my Christia. I have back Honest. I'm able to attack over the Ryza. There's actually a lethal setup here, but I didn't want to blow my whole hand into him having a set enemy controller or set Book of Moon. So if I go enemy controller, stack my Battle Fader, take his Ryza, attack, that's game. But if he has enemy controller or Book of Moon, then I guess it just forces it. But he like books the Christia, and then I have to like sack his dude for Cyber Dragon, which is okay. It's not bad. But then he has like some weird outs. I don't know why I didn't go for game on this turn. I think it's a bit of a mistake on my part. I should have just enemy controller and taken his Ryza and attacked with... Oh no, it's not exact game because you have 56. Yeah, that's the mistake. Yeah. So I couldn't actually go for game. He was at 56. I knew there was something wrong with this. So yeah, I would have to enemy controller, sack the Battle Fader, take his Ryza. And if I want to go for game, I have to normal summon Honest. And then if he has, let's say, enemy controller, he switches my Christia to defense. He doesn't die. I give him back his Ryza, which can now run over my defense position Christia. I would basically be forced to use the defense position Honest, but it just gives him too much advantage. It also leaves him with a monster in play. I'd rather just attack him with Christia now. If he has the enemy controller or Book of Moon, he's forced to use it now. And then main phase 2, I can or even in the battle phase, I can enemy controller, sack the Fader, take his Ryza, attack him directly, and then sacrifice it for Cyber Dragon main phase 2. So, yeah, I played around him having a set enemy controller or Book of Moon. Yeah, because he was at 56. He takes 400 here, but he was at 56. So me taking the Ryza alone was not lethal. He draws. He says, go. We draw. Same thing. Just attack for 28. No reason to get too antsy with any of this stuff into like a potential torrential. Wait, he would have torrentialed me last turn, right? Yeah, I guess he would have torrentialed me last turn. I don't know. Plus, like, whatever. We end up winning that game because Christia's broken as shit. And that was pretty good. We resolved a couple Heralds. We resolved a Christia. We resolved some power cards. Those are good feeling games. Those are the games that feel pretty good. Why is my deck list... Why Dueling Book just stay kicking me out, you know? So, yeah. Moving into Game 3, I didn't change anything with the siding. I think, actually, this configuration looks really strong versus Frogs. So, yeah, we just move straight into Game 3. I have tons of hand traps. I have Archlord Christia Vanity's Fiend, which is, like, lights out versus the deck. And I actually do get to open with the Agent of Creation Venus, which makes me really happy because I wanted to showcase this card. Even though we do open with 1 Shine Ball, it's still really strong here. And even though we are going second, it's still really strong. He goes Swap Frog, send Treeborn Frog, bounce the Swap Frog, pass the turn. We pick up our own Treeborn, which is pretty cool. Maybe he can do some work later. I summon Agent of Creation Venus. I pay 1,500 and I get my Shine Balls out. And one of the cool things about this too is like if your opponent has like a clear board or an open board, you're actually getting in a really significant amount of damage. Like 3,100 is a lot of damage. I'll trade 1,500 for 1,500 versus Frogs any day of the week, just because their deck's a little bit slower at vomiting out damage than most other decks are. So it's just really good chip damage here. We're able to deal the full 3,100. We have 4 fairies now in circulation. We're up card advantage technically, I guess. And yeah, like his best play next turn is like Monarch, one of our guys, attack one of our other guys. Next turn we can either sack for Caius or double sack for Christia. If we sack for Caius, let's say he Caiuses me, I sack for Caius, we're dealing him 3,900 on the way back. He drops to 1,000, and we have Gores to like finish off the game. So we're actually in a pretty good spot here. He goes Treeborn, Caius, sack, target the Venus, attack over the Shine Ball. I say anything before damage, trying to bait an enemy controller, but he says no. He sits back row and passes. Here I sack for Caius, target his monster. I deal 1,000 with this play. So he takes 1,000, and then we attack with both. Another cool thing is like versus this guy specifically, he does have these Fires of Doomsday, and the Shine Balls help you play through those cards. We drew, I think, what was it, Herald of Orange, which is beautiful. That means we can stop his next play and hopefully just out-tempo him out of the game. I mean, Herald of Orange is just crazy. Like, this card is just like, it's definitely a future Yu-Gi-Oh card. It's not an Edison Yu-Gi-Oh card. It's a future Yu-Gi-Oh card. It's too broken. M-Phase, he goes for the Fires. He's trying to set up a Plasma play, but, you know, the Frog deck just can't do anything through Herald of Orange. Like, they have to have specifically My Body as a shield. And if they don't have it, like, they can't play through it. My Body as a shield is very good versus Herald of Orange, though. If you're struggling with Fairies and Herald of Orange, maybe try siding in My Body as a shield as a Frog player. Anyway, we Herald of Orange his Plasma, and he's forced to set and pass the turn. Now, he didn't attack my Shine Ball, which tells me his set is 1,000% Treacherous Trap Hole, because he doesn't want to Tretch his own Stratos. So I'm like, okay, because he has Treacherous Trap Hole, we have game. We just attack with Caius over the Stratos. We attack directly with the Shine Ball. If it isn't Treacherous, we win. And if it is Treacherous, we can enemy controller chain, take his Stratos, and attack him directly for game. So that's exactly what happens. He goes for the Treacherous. I chain enemy controller. I take his Stratos, and I attack him directly for game. And that was the power of Agent of Creation Venus. This card is exceptional in later formats. This card is actually still really good in Edison format too. I think it's very slept on. I think that there's definitely some stuff you can do with it if you can stomach drawing Shine Balls. That's the only thing, because you are going to draw Shine Balls when you play this game. I think you're like 40% to open one. So yeah, you are going to draw the Shine Balls. You just have to like go into it knowing that. And then if you can build your deck around knowing that you're going to draw the Shine Balls, I think Agent of Creation Venus is still a really strong card. Hope you guys like this. It's a bit of a shorter installation. I might drop another video today as well. I might drop a couple. I don't really know, man. Let me know if you guys like this Road to Nats stuff. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what I'm playing, while also trying to hide exactly what I'm playing. So I may or may not be playing this in Nats. I'm just showing you guys a couple of the ideas that are swimming around in my head, and you know, I gotta keep you guys on your toes. You never know what I'm gonna bring to Nats. You never know. I'm gonna bring something cool. I'll tell you that much. I'm gonna bring a cool deck, but you guys aren't gonna know it. You guys aren't gonna know it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.